Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I'm talking about human suffering. And I'm going to start with a little story about me and something that I experienced earlier on in my life. I can't believe it's 20 odd years ago, actually. So I'd always, all through my life, I had been unsure of myself academically, which is really strange. Probably my parents would find that quite strange. My mum would find that quite strange because I did very well academically. I was always like top of the class, always in the top set, always getting A's at everything. But I worked really hard. I worked really, really, really hard. And one of the things I was aware of for a long, long time was that I didn't like reading. Like I went to school already able to read. My mum had already kind of immersed me in books and there'd been a lot of books around and I'd learned to read before I even went to school. And in fact, I was so good at reading when I was at Bolton Royd infant school, it would have been then, back in the day, that I heard the other children read. That's how good I was at reading when I was little. However, as I got older, I just didn't read at all. And in fact, there was one point, not so long since actually, that I cleared out all the books that I hadn't read. So I would buy books because grown-up intelligent women read books, don't they? So I had this idea that I should be reading, but I didn't. I bought the books and then I didn't often read them. I read one or two, but I didn't really read very much. And I kind of got this sense there was something missing. There's something that wasn't right about my relationship with reading. It didn't feel good. So hopefully you can hear the metaphor coming in now. And then when I was 30, might have been 31 actually. Anyway, in my early 30s, I was working at a school in Leeds and a new head teacher came in. I was the special needs coordinator of that school. And a new head teacher came in and she introduced this thing called Irlen syndrome. And she said to me, as the special needs coordinator, I want you to really learn about this. So she had me sit in as she screened a child for this condition. And as I sat listening to the questions, I realised that I was answering yes to every single one of them. There were questions like, do you skip lines or skip words when you're reading? Do you get tired when you're reading? Do your eyes get tired? Do your eyes get itchy and sore and tired? Do you get headaches when you're reading? Do you understand? Do you manage to understand what you read or remember what you read? And I was answering these questions the same as the child who was sat there in my head. I was answering them in my head. And by the end of that observation I did of that screening, I realised that what she was screening the child for, I had. And it's a condition called Irlen syndrome, and it is a condition that means that when you look at text, you get blurring and movement in the text. So the way some people see like almost like a washing machine effect. Some children see rivers in the spaces, but mine was more of a general blurriness. And the way to help people to read better who've got this condition is that you put a coloured overlay over the top. So I went off to train to be a screener for this condition, and I discovered that I had it quite severely. and needed a double grey overlay. So you might need 2 thin pieces of plastic grey over your writing. Made everything very dark. Anyway, so I got some glasses as well, which made things easier because the plastic overlays are a bit faffy. You've got to move them around. And then I started to read. And I guess what I'm pointing to here is that I did not know that this blurry mess that I was seeing was not normal. That what it wasn't, I wasn't seeing reality. So I was suffering because I wasn't seeing reality. And that's why all humans are suffering, is because the reality that we all experience is a reality created in our heads. And it's very akin to Irlen syndrome because it is a neurological condition. I don't see text how other people see it because my brain doesn't like the contrast, the harsh contrast between black and white print. So when I'm reading, that's what it just causes my brain to kind of get confused. It's called scotopic sensitivity. And it's just a sensitivity because it's so harsh, the difference. If somebody presents me something on cream paper or a grey, I have a grey background Kindle now, and that's really cool. That's really helpful. I can read with that. Most of us don't know that it's our thinking that's creating our suffering. And it is 100% of the time. I'm not saying that horrible things don't happen and that life chucks things at us all the time. It does do that. Of course it does. But our experience of those things, our feelings when those things are happening, are not ever, ever, ever coming from the outside world. I know it looks that way, particularly if a whole group of people seem to respond to something in a similar way, or the news says, this is stressful, this is awful. I wrote a few days ago about the cost of living. But it isn't, it doesn't work that way. I didn't know things weren't supposed to be blurry, and as soon as somebody showed me, here's what it can look like, I never wanted to go back to the blurriness again. And what happens as you start to realise more and more that it is the way you're thinking about things that's creating the suffering is, it makes less and less sense to go there. That's what I'm noticing now. I can go there. I can start to go. I can notice the first few thoughts, generally for me, ranting about somebody else's behaviour. But very quickly, I stop because it feels horrible. And now I know it isn't the outside thing that I can't do anything about invariably, like somebody who I don't know is behaving in a way I don't like. I mean, a great example is Boris, isn't it? You know, people are moaning about him this morning, but bless his cotton socks, he's done the best he could with whatever thinking he had available to him. And we can be angry and upset and say, you know, whatever about his behaviour. But when we're ranting about Boris, we're creating that. Boris isn't doing that to us. His behaviour can't do that to us. It doesn't work that way. I have literally no feelings about Boris at all, apart from probably compassion, actually, now. So the outside world isn't creating our experience of life, just like the text on the page wasn't making me see blurry. It was how I was processing the text that was making it look blurry. When you start to see it, you can start to get some clarity. And when I got my grey overlays, I suddenly got clarity. Even though I was looking through grey, the words all looked like clean and pristine, and I could read them much more easily. As you connect to this truth further and further, there is an opportunity to choose. Not to choose your thinking, because that just comes when it likes. It don't really care what you think. You know how quickly it is when you see somebody doing something. The thought, why are they doing that? They shouldn't be doing that. That's there straight away, isn't it? But you don't have to go with it. You have a choice. But the choice only occurs to us when we realise that by choosing, we're choosing calm. Like you can choose calm. You can select calm. Or you can select to go off on one. Sometimes I don't remember this and I go off on one and have a good old rant and rave about something. But that's okay too. But somehow the more you look in this direction, the less sense it makes to do that to yourself. Why would you hurt yourself? I sometimes see ranty posts on the internet and I just think, you're hurting yourself, bless you. You don't know you're hurting yourself by ranting about this thing, but you are hurting yourself. It doesn't make sense to me anymore to hurt myself with my thinking. Rubbishy thinking feels rubbish. Ranty thinking feels awful. Anxious thinking feels horrible. And now it just doesn't make sense to do that to myself anymore. And hopefully as you keep listening and watching what I've got to say, or maybe even spend some time talking to me, you will see this more and more and see what is available to you underneath this noisy system. The noisy system inside our heads.
Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.